If you have an upcoming trip to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, today I have a bunch of helpful travel tips, everything from airport navigation to using ATMs, the best neighborhoods to stay in, safety, food, and whether or not you need to worry about ice in your drinks, and more. Let's start with your arrival at the airport. If you're visiting for tourism purposes, you will either go through the e-gates or to a border agent. It really depends how busy the arrivals are that day. As far as wait times, you never really know, but Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays usually seem to be the busiest. So if you do have the option to arrive during the week, it will probably be less busy. I just published a video about navigating the airport process for more details on what to expect there. When you leave customs, you will walk through the glass doors into a corridor known as the Shark Tank. You will be bombarded with sales reps who will offer you free or heavily discounted services for attending a timeshare presentation. I recommend just saying no gracias or no thank you and keep walking until you exit the second set of glass doors into the terminal. If you want to take an official airport taxi, buy your ticket at the desk inside the airport. You will then get a ticket to get your taxi outside. Prices are set depending on what zone you're going to. This is also where your pre-arranged transportation will be waiting to pick you up. Or you can cross the pedestrian bridge to get an Uber or a less expensive taxi or a bus. Speaking of Uber, it works just the same as it does at home. And sometimes I find it's easier than taxis since you can see the cost before you order your car and there's no exchange of money. It's all done in the app. And the buses are a great way to get around as well. They come frequently and are inexpensive. The bus drivers are usually very helpful, so just ask if you're not totally sure you're getting on the right one. And the seats at the front are usually yellow and reserved for the elderly or those who have limited mobility. Okay, let's talk about food and drinks, which are the most common questions that I get. The food is perfectly fine and safe to eat here and will be some of the most delicious, flavorful, and fresh food you will ever eat. If you're not sure, just go somewhere that's busy or has a bit of a lineup, which should mean that the food is always being turned over and that's not sitting around if you are really wary of foodborne illness. But I always recommend taking a food tour or a taco tour within the first day or two, and this really just helps you get comfortable with all the street food and different flavors and ingredients because it's all so delicious. And there are also some great vegetarian and vegan tours now too. By the way, everything I mentioned in this video is linked down below, or you can scan the QR code, which takes you to my corresponding blog post that has everything written down. I know a lot of people worry about getting sick, and more specifically, traveler's diarrhea. The reality is, you may or may not get sick for a day or two. Honestly, between Chris and I, usually every 2 to 3 trips, one of us is out for a day. If you know what I mean. And if that happens, just get lots of rest, lots of fluids. Electrolyte is great. I love the coconut flavor, and you can find them at any OXXO or pharmacy. And Treda. That helps with things down there. You'll find Treda in a red box at any pharmacy right at the front. I recommend grabbing one on your first day just so you have it if you need it. My best advice is, if possible, build a bit of a buffer day into your itinerary, so if someone in your party does get sick, you haven't really missed out on anything, and if no one gets sick, now you have a bonus day. Ice and water is also fine. Restaurants use filtered water. You'll see the delivery trucks making deliveries of filtered water all day long to all the restaurants, and all the ice is made from filtered water too. We drink bottled water when we're in Vallarta, or if our hotel has a water filter, we'll drink that. Some people say they have no problem drinking the tap water. So you do you, I'm just telling you what we do. And also at restaurants, generally you're left to enjoy your dining experience and not be bothered. You won't be checked up on every 5 minutes like in the US or Canada. So the service might seem slow at first, but that's just the way it is. Eating is a social experience meant to be enjoyed. So if you need something, you can just signal to the servers and they will help you out right away. And when you're done and you want your bill, you can say "La cuenta, por favor," which means "the check, please." But you can also just signal for "La cuenta" by making eye contact with your server and then making the motion for the bill, as Chris is demonstrating here. And just remember, the food and the prices get better the further you walk from the beach or Malecon. You can check my recent Puerto Vallarta videos and blog posts for some of my favorite restaurant recommendations. Speaking of the check, let's talk money. The currency in Mexico is pesos, and I would recommend you use pesos over US dollars. Now, if you're only in town for one day, maybe visiting from the cruise ship, you can get by using US dollars. However, you will get a better rate by paying in pesos, and if you pay in dollars, you're likely going to get pesos back as change. Most restaurants are cash only. So if you see a sign that says solo efectivo, that means cash only. But many places, especially along the Malecon, do accept credit cards. If you do pay by credit card, always choose to pay in pesos instead of dollars because you will get a better exchange rate. And when we pay in credit card, we usually tip the server in cash instead of adding it to the credit card total. I have a whole video about tipping in Mexico, like who to tip and how much, so check that out for more info. Now, to get pesos, you can use the ATM with your debit card. Only use the bank ATMs though. We usually have good luck with Santander, but any ATM associated with the bank should be fine. All ATMs will have a fee to use them. Try not to pay more than 35 pesos. I've seen some as high as 80 to 100, so just walk away and find a different one if that's the case. You'll first be prompted to accept the ATM fee, which is required, but then you'll be asked about the conversion fee. Always decline this. It might look like you're canceling the transaction, but you're not. You will get a better conversion rate from your bank, so this is just an unnecessary fee. And never accept help from a stranger when you're using an ATM. This is how so many people get scammed. You might encounter an ATM that's out of money or just doesn't work with your bank card. These are pretty common scenarios. If that happens, just go find another ATM somewhere else. All right, now let's talk budget. This is going to depend on all kinds of factors, so I'll go over the types of things that we would spend our money on. So right now I'm looking at hotel prices for the first week of December, for example. A great adults-only spot called Hotel Mio is showing rates at $60 per night, or Rivera del Rio is about $160. Pinnacle, the place where we most recently stayed at, is showing rates of $173 per night. Of course, it can go up from there, but these are some example prices of high-quality, mid-range accommodations in great locations. When it comes to meals, a sit-down breakfast will run you about 150 to 200 pesos for an entree, but you can also find street tacos like birria for about 25 pesos per taco. Lunch and dinner is a little more expensive, but you can find high-quality meals, especially seafood, for about 350 to 500 pesos per entree. There are also many fine dining restaurants where prices are going to be higher, or you can also find lower price too. This seems to be kind of the midway point though. Cocktails will run you about 150 to 200 pesos on average, so definitely look for those happy hours. Although I will say many happy hours are what they call 2 for 1, meaning a single person will get 2 margaritas for the price of 1 with no sharing. Anyway, you don't have to spend a lot of money to enjoy the city. There are plenty of free things to do, and I have a full video dedicated to that. But I do recommend at least a couple of tours. For example, whale watching might run you about $100. The hot springs tour is about $150, along with boat tours or zipline tours. The best time of the year to visit Puerto Vallarta is from November to April. This is the high season when the weather is consistently warm, with sunny days that aren't too humid and minimal rain. November and April are the 2 best months to visit for great weather, fewer tourists, and slightly lower prices. We've also noticed the week after American Thanksgiving is pretty quiet too. Many people visit year-round, but it does start to get pretty hot and muggy in June, and especially from July through October when it's rainy season. One of the unique things about Puerto Vallarta is that there are many different zones that you can stay in. You have a lot of choices, and they each have their own appealing features. So here's a breakdown of the different areas. Nuevo Vallarta is where you'll find the larger, all-inclusive resorts. I would recommend staying here if you're just wanting a resort vacation and only plan to go into the city maybe once or twice, since it's a bit far. If you really want a nice beach every day to hang out at, you might want to stay in Nuevo. I do really like the Riu Palace Pacifico, and I made a whole video tour of it if you want to watch that next. Then you have the marina, which is close to the airport and has high-end resorts and condos, and easy access to nearby golf courses. But it's not super authentic, it's pretty expensive, and has limited beach access. The hotel zone has some all-inclusive resorts and chain hotels. This is a good area to stay for families and first-time visitors, and you can find accommodations for all different price points. From here, it's about a 30 to 40 minute walk to the downtown area though. The next place I would recommend is Centro because you'll be very close to the Malecon, which is the oceanfront boardwalk. And there's lots of great restaurants in this area too. Here, I love staying at Luna Liquida. It's a 16-room hotel with a rooftop pool and patio area with views of the entire city. Each room is different, and the whole hotel has this beautiful laid-back vibe. Zona Romantica has a high concentration of restaurants, coffee shops, and bars for nightlife, as well as close proximity to the main beaches and main pier. We liked our stay at Rivera del Rio. It's up a few blocks from the beach, so it's nice and quiet, but it has the most amazing rooftop pool. And then a little closer to the beach, we like Pinnacle 179. It's brand new, adults only, and has another terrific rooftop pool. Centro and Zona Romantica are the heartbeat of the city. Much more authentic, and there's always something going on, and foodies will be in paradise here. If you're looking for more of a couple's quiet and romantic getaway, the Conchas Chinas neighborhood has some beautiful spots, along with great views and amazing sunsets. Finally, there are a few resorts south of the city, located on the wonderful beaches in what's called the South Hotel Zone. I've left links to all of my favorite hotels in the comments, or you can scan the QR code, which will take you to my blog post where I have everything written down. Here's a room tip though. When booking a hotel room, if you want a view of the ocean, you need to book a room titled Ocean Front. If you book a room titled Ocean View, it might have an obstructed view, or you might only have a sliver of a view of the ocean. No matter where you stay though, my number one tip is to book your accommodations as early as possible. Let's talk about safety. While no destination is entirely without risk, Puerto Vallarta maintains a reputation as a very safe place for tourists. The city center and tourist areas are well patrolled, and violent crime against tourists is very, very rare. However, like any tourist destination, it's essential to take the standard precautions, things like being mindful of your belongings, avoid walking alone in unfamiliar areas at night, and don't engage in any illegal activity, especially like buying drugs. I've got a whole video that goes into detail about scams and safety for a quick refresher before your trip. Getting around the city and the whole Bay Area is quite easy. You won't need to rent a car unless you're staying for a while and plan to do some sort of coastal road trip. The bus system is easy and affordable, and there are always Ubers or taxis available. But Puerto Vallarta is a great city for exploring on foot. Between the beaches and the Malecon and the quaint cobblestone streets, you'll probably be doing a lot of walking. I do recommend only bringing your most comfortable shoes, and don't bother packing anything with heels. Beyond the fact that you'll be getting a lot of steps in, many of the sidewalks are randomly uneven, and we've witnessed many people trip and fall over the years, so just be careful. I wanted to make a quick mention on public bathrooms. There are plenty available around the city, but you'll likely encounter an attendant who will charge you maybe 10 to 15 pesos to get in. This is normal, and this is why it's good to keep some spare change on you at all times. There are several beaches in Puerto Vallarta, the largest and busiest being Los Muertos. It's perfectly fine for swimming, and there are all kinds of beach bars and day clubs if that interests you. Do pay attention to the flags though. Red means do not swim, and purple means there's sea life in the water, which could be anything from crocodiles to jellyfish. Now, if you're a first-time visitor, you should probably prepare yourself for the number of beach vendors who will approach you wanting to sell you anything from trinkets and jewelry to blankets to hats and sunglasses. They're respectful and they're just trying to make a living. If you're not interested, you can just say no gracias, which means no thank you, and they will be on their way. However, this does catch people off guard since there can be a lot of vendors to the point where you might be approached every couple of minutes. I would say you do get used to it, so don't be alarmed, and we've found some cute souvenirs this way as well. As far as what to do in Puerto Vallarta, the options are endless, from exploring the vibrant neighborhoods to breathtaking hikes and natural hot springs, snorkeling and boat trips. There is no shortage of unforgettable experiences. Whether you're into tequila tasting, whale watching, beach hopping to places like Sayulita and Bucerias, or crocodile sanctuaries, there really is something for everyone. I've covered all of these activities and so much more in depth in my other videos, so check out my Puerto Vallarta playlist for some fun ideas. That's going to be all for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.